Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on Season 2, Episode 11 of Star Trek Discovery, entitled Perpetual Infinity. Kind of sounds like a first pass of the Jamiroquai song, Virtual Insanity. Perpetual Infinity. It's a little bit redundant as an episode title, as it were. Thankfully, the episode itself, the episode proper, was not overly redundant. I will say it was quite captivating and compelling to me, but it did kind of get off to a little bit of a rocky start with this seeming continuity error of sorts to do with Leland and the Control AI. After last week's episode, everyone was speculating that, when he gets stabbed, jacked in the eyes for all intents and purposes, blinded, I had speculated, oh, that must have been the Control AI. It was, taking up residence on the Section 31 ship. Proved to be true, that much at least. But everyone was already speculating that, oh, that must have been how the Control AI took control of Leland and sort of brainwashed him, or through nanotechnology, whatever like that, was going to command and control the situation from then on, utilizing Leland as its through line. And I was all but ready to eschew that and think, nah, I was going to discount that because it seemed that much more schlocky on the coattails of the just sheer schlockiness of last week's episode, all told. I'm already on record as talking almost 30 minutes at length, about how schlocky, what a schlock fest the previous episode was. And I was thinking, no, that would just be one more beat too close to like the Terminator or something. I wasn't even thinking the Borg, but I have since heard some people saying, basically sharing their fears and concerns that maybe this is a birth of the Borg kind of scenario, and I'm very much with them as far as being utmost reluctant and hoping that has nothing to do with anything to do with this. That the Control AI is in fact its own thing, its own big bad, or whatever you want to call it, and has absolutely no ties to the Borg any which way by any stretch of the imagination. So we already begin this episode with the Control AI now showing itself in holographic, form, showing up as Michael Burnham, and then finally as Leland himself before taking over Leland. And I was just thinking, the last thing we saw was Leland getting his eyes stabbed out. And for all intents and purposes, here he is being, held, confined to this, upright chair. And at least to my eye, his eyes seem to be perfectly fine. So, wow, that was really nice of the Control AI to go ahead and stab him in the eyes to hopefully take him over, but then figure, oh, no, we got to take him to his ready room or something like that. How did he get there? I don't know. But we got to, lock him up on this chair and everything like that, and then restore his eyes so he can see us when we threaten him and tell him we're going to take him over. Wow, it blew my mind. It was again, a holdover of the schlockfest schlockiness of the previous episode, and seemed a little bit info dump heavy, that aspect. Just so we know the viewers are going to be aware of what is actually transpiring, let's have a whole scene that we film that has the Control AI telling Leland this is what we're going to do, because they might have not got the subtlety of him being jacked in the eyes, that kind of thing. So that rocky footing, I was kind of like, oh boy, is this going to be like last week where it's not quite aligning, it's not quite making sense. There's a little more sci-fi fantasy than science fiction proper with the, the time crystal and everything like that. And the first couple of times in this episode that we call back to Leland, I'm just I'm not into it. I'm just oh my God, I hate this. Why are we doing this now? This, that, and the other thing. Everything else about the episode, from the way Georgiou was becoming involved, the way Leland had orchestrated Ash Tyler to sort of do his dirty work, but Ash was very reluctant to do that, figuring out that it was the sphere information that needed to be destroyed, Michael Burnham's wanting to talk to her mother, but then not being able to, being stonewalled, and having, Pike have to go and talk to her, how forthright Burnham's mother was, and all that kind of stuff, the danger to the timeline, and what were they going to do? They couldn't, for all intents and purposes, erase this information because it was self-preserving. Using its, eons of information, of backlog, of languages long dead and everything like that to create security firewalls. I mean, it was kind of mind-blowing, although there was a point of reservation on my part where I thought, was that, Ash Tyler's orchestration, that he had put that firewall, instigated that somehow so they couldn't destroy it as per his mission parameters as given by the now Control-led, Leland. But no, it was a self-preservation tactic on the part of this information, on the part of this former sphere, and finding out, learning how dangerous that was, learning how Michael Burnham's mother had all but cut her off and resigned herself to the fact that no matter how many times she would encounter her daughter and, for all intents and purposes, save her life, she could never be with her daughter, be reunited again. And just the stakes and the odds and ramping that all up and getting Spock involved and Stamets and can we use the black matter substance to bring her out of her timeline to destroy that sort of universal time space continuum rubber band that keeps snapping her back to the future and everything like that. Can we stop that? Can we bring her into the present fully and have her like live and exist herein in our present day? Everything about the episode was captivating, had me on the edge of my seat. And even Leland, finally, toward the end of the episode when we see that Georgiou and Tyler are working together as a team, it almost makes me want to watch a Section 31 series if that's how they'll be, if they'll be the primary leads and that's the, bounding off of each other that we'll see on display in such a series. But as they're bounding off each other and they're figuring out, what Leland is doing, and, I'm glad that we didn't have to stretch this out beyond this episode. It was kind of like the Arium thing, where it was like, I was very much respectful of the fact that they got to it right away. Arium had posed a threat as being controlled by the Control AI, and now here Leland was very much a similar threat toward the end of the episode, and he's got like the phaser rifle, and it's full blast, and he's trying to take down the the sort of stationary field that they have to keep Michael Burnham's mother there, and he practically destroys the suit so she can't get back into it, and they've transferred so much of the data to the suit, hoping to have it sent off perpetually into the future, never to be able to be grabbed again. It was all of the Time Machine. If you go back to the George Pal Time Machine, the 1950s movie, one of my all-time favorite films, if not my all-time favorite film, there is the first display of the Time Machine. The Traveler has concocted a mini version of it, and because it has no pilot, in order to prove his point that time travel is possible, he puts it on display for all of his friends and acquaintances, and it is then lost to all space-time because there is no pilot for it. Very much was this a similar equation with the Red Angel suit. It was going to be tentatively lost, and that was kind of what they were angling toward on purpose, to lose it, within the annals of a completely perpetual infinity space-time. Nothing could ever stop it or catch up with it or recapture it, anything like that, to preserve that information and make it so that the Control AI could not get its grubby little dirty hands on it. And I was enjoying it. It was like an ear-to-ear grin situation. Every performance in this episode, especially once again Sonequa Martin Green being reunited with her mother, being stonewalled by her, trying to reach her and just getting a talk to the hand right in the face, and not one of these. It was more like, go away, Spock's trying to be there for her, and the rapport between brother and sister and everything like that. It was highly engrossing and compelling to me. And I thought it was interesting that Culber's wearing his Dr. Whites again, they bring that to the fore with his characterization bounding off of Burnham, where he's trying to get into her mind, reason with her that, the woman that we have, that appears to be your mother for all intents and purposes, we don't know how long. Well, they have an estimate of how long she's been in that Red Angel suit, how long she's been doing everything, 800 plus missions, whatever it is. So they have a quantifiable amount of time. But I mean, for Burnham, who is only just waking up out of this and recollecting back to the last time she saw her mother properly, for all intents and purposes, by extension, witnessing her death and living all of her life, assuming her mother to be dead, you have Culber very reasonably coming and saying, this woman, she might not be the same person you remember. It might be somebody else. And she may have gone through so many changes, so many transmogrifications and permutations of the woman you once knew that, maybe there's a reason why she doesn't want to see you. Maybe there's something deeper, something more resonating as to why. And but it came down to time being of the essence, and Burnham got her, to try to make amends with her mother, and again, as I say, stonewalled, talk to the hand, and it was like compelling. It felt, I talked about the Terminator. There was something about the bounding off between Burnham and her mother that reminded me of sequences from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, with the Miles Dyson character and everything like that, and how you had, Sarah Connor and her son, and the, sort of good version of the Terminator going and talking to him and talking about what they need to do to preserve humanity and preserve history from the oncoming war with the machines in the future, and all that kind of stuff. Felt very much in a similar vein, on a similar tack as what was developing in the dialogue, in the characterizations between Michael and her mother. And something about, this didn't really occur to me in the previous episode, but we're pretty much in the same space, this little, sort of colony or whatever you want to call it on this world where they've captured Michael Burnham's mother. I forget what they called it, referred to it as, but sort of the cinematography of it and the way it appeared to me reminded me a lot of the Alien movies, especially Alien 3, the prison planet Alien movie. And again, certain visual cues and things like that. It was harkening back to like a split, to my mind, between Alien 3 and Terminator 2, with everything that was going on, and all the best aspects. I know Terminator 2 is a much beloved film, and it's something sort of well acclaimed to call back to and say, oh, I was reminded of Alien 3, not so much. Alien 3 is much more a sort of cult fanatical film where most people don't like it. I actually do like it. And so all of the best aspects, most memorable aspects of both of those films were coming to the fore in my mind as I was watching this episode, and I think it was all the better for it, and now it's just going to kind of be a cat and mouse chase to see who can get after who first. Is going to be Section 31 as commanded by Leland taking over Discovery and overcoming them and trying to get the information, or is Discovery going to find a way to get at Leland and put a stop to all of this before anyone truly becomes endangered? And the whole next episode looks like we're going to have some Klingon involvement once again. And there's things that Tyler hasn't told anybody about the little baby and whatever like that. So it's gonna be fairly interesting, I think, even though the Klingon stuff in Star Trek Discovery leaves something to be desired for me, and I know a lot of, the same can be said for a lot of people. I'm a little bit more forgiving of it. I'm at least open-minded enough to want to see where it's going to go and how that's going to play out, how that's going to impact the story, any Klingon elements that may be involved in episodes to come. But I do hope there isn't a super great amount of emphasis put on that it's only going to be as is tentatively needed, and as a part of the story, as a part of this plot. For all we know, there could in fact be a temporary Klingon alliance where the Klingons are integral in helping us get after Section 31 and get after Leland and put a stop to all of this. Very much akin to what we saw in the Orville with the Krill in recent episodes. There was that tentative alliance when it turned out that the robot Isaac's people were going to threaten all sentient life in the galaxy. Oh, looks like we got the same kind of thing playing out in Discovery Season 2. So I'm on board for it. I enjoyed this episode. There were a few minor, bumps and things like that didn't sit well with me, but for the most part, it was an enjoyable ride, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Watching this video, if you've seen the episode, what you thought of it, love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below, as long as you are respectable and sharing your own opinion and respectful of others. And at this juncture, I'd like to ask if you enjoyed this video and would like to consider supporting my channel, please have a look at my PayPal support link, posted both in the description as well as the comments below. It affords you opportunities very much akin to Patreon, where you can set up a monthly contribution, a one-time only kind of thing. Send me a personal message with any contribution you see fit to send my way, requesting topics I may discuss in the future, make recommendations, or even ask for shout-outs. And of course, any recommendations of something you may want me to check out, I would definitely shout you out down the line if I ended up talking about. And anything you saw fit to send my way would be 2 thumbs up for me and secure my longevity on YouTube for the foreseeable future. And so yeah, until the next one, I'm going to be waiting with bated breath because it just primped me up. Got me back to the edge of my seat by the end of this episode, waiting to see what's going to happen next. And until that time, I'll catch you all later. Live long and prosper.